now. And this is live.
So I guess we can start. Welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us on this session 5 of the PrestaShop Public OSS demo. So yeah, let's start. So on today's agenda, we have the introduction and the agenda we are currently on. Then I'm gonna remind you about today's event rules. After that, 2 announcements. So you're being spoiled right now, but I'm gonna announce them anyway. Today we have 4 demos. The first one is experimental product page in 178 by Mattheus and Jonathan. The second one is how to declare your modules multi-store compatibility by Matthew. The third one is Linklist module version 5, introducing multi-store compatibility by Christian. And the last one is the menu translation improvements by Pablo. And as usual, this session will end with a Q&A session. And as Matthew already said in the previous session, don't hesitate to ask a question about the whole PrestaShop open source project, not only today's demo. So about today's rules, first, please use the chat to ask questions. Be aware that the stream is 1 minute delayed, about 1 minute. So don't be surprised if we don't answer right away your questions. And if the question is too long to get answered, we'll keep it for the Q&A session. Second, this event is about the PrestaShop open source project, like I said, but not about the PrestaShop company. So every question about the company will be off topic, and won't be answered. Third, this event is public and recorded, and the record will be shared publicly very soon after this session ends. It will be published on YouTube, and we're gonna post a little summary of this session on the build blog of PrestaShop, so build.prestashop.com. And last, participants must abide by the code of conduct of PrestaShop project. And you can find the code of conduct on the open source, on the PrestaShop open source repository. And you have the link just below. So yeah, have a look at it. So on today's announcements, the first one is that PrestaShop 1774 has been delivered on May 3rd, 2021. And this patch release fixes 13 regressions reported on previous 177 versions. So once again, thanks to everyone involved in this release. The second announcement is that PrestaShop 178 has been extensively tested. The QA team has performed a large test campaign to evaluate 178 stability. So far, 29 bugs have been found, 8 trivial, 13 minor, and 8 major. 5 of them prevent the launch of the beta, but stay tuned because the beta will come very soon. So that's it for the announcements. Let's start the demonstrations, and with the first one about the experimental product page in 178 by Mattheus and Joe. So guys, I'll let you take over the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Thomas, for the introduction. Let me share my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, so the experimental product page, it's a new page that's been introduced in the 178. Next one. So it's an experimental page, and why we put it as an experimental page and why we are adding this page behind a feature flag. So a quick reminder, we're currently migrating the product page to the Symfony framework. It's already have been done on 1.7, the first release, but was not completely fully migrated, and there have a lot of drawback that have been introduced on this new page. And while we are re-migrating this page, we try to fix these issues. So we have UX issues, performance issues, that we try to fix. And we put this on behind the experimental page because this is one of the main and biggest page on the CMS PrestaShop that a lot of merchants count on. So we couldn't develop it and deliver it on one version. So we had so we did a feature flag, so people who could use it and to test it. So like that, we can gather a lot of feedbacks and deliver it fully developed and complete on the next version. So a quick reminder: this page is only a page that should be tried and tested on test environments. So we don't recommend at all to test it on prod website. Because the page is not fully finished. It's bringing new features and technical enhancements, improvements, but we prefer to let the merchant to try it on the test environment. So the idea to hide it behind the feature flag is to be able to test it easily without going to the GitHub and try the new feature behind the pull request. So everything will be available and testable during the beta and the release of the final of this version. And so yes, so we'll be really happy to have some feedbacks on this page, and so like that we can improve it for the next version for the when it's going to be fully delivered. So one of the new feature on this page is we put the generation of the combination into a pop-up. So here's the GIF already started, but the idea is to give a bit more space on the page, on the combination tab of products. So the one who are familiar on the current page, we have on the left side a lot of options for the generation. So here we put everything on a pop-up. If you can see on the GIF, it will be really simple to select all the attributes you want to use for your product, for the generation of your product. So you can select by the group of attributes. So it's going to select them all, and you can generate them quickly. It's going to bring the list of all the combination. And here, one of the biggest changes on this page is the feature of the pagination. We had many merchants that struggle with this page because on the current page, we list all the combination at once. So if you have 10,000 of combination, the current page will try to display them all. So here we add a pagination that will add a lot of improve a lot of the performance issues that the merchants are facing right now. So people can select how many items they can display per page. So depending of the server of the merchant, maybe it can allow 10,000 combination at a time. So everything is customizable by the merchant. So this will have a huge impact on the performance of the page, which is one of the biggest pain right now on this page, because a lot of merchants use the combination and have a lot of struggle around having a slow back office page. So we hope it's going to solve a lot of these issues. One other of the new feature is now, because we have the pagination, it's going to be harder to find attributes, a combination you want to edit. So here we add a filtering by attributes. So for example, if you are doing t-shirts on different size and different colors, you can select here, you can select the size S. It will be display all the combination with the size S. And then you can select other attributes to do a better query of which combination you want to find. It will win a lot of time for the merchant, and and it will be a lot of more easy on the experience of the merchants to know which combination they want to edit and to find which combination and to try to understand which information and where has that been saved. Yes, next one. So now when you're going to edit a combination, if you remember the old page, you click on the combination, it just opens the information on the page, then you can edit all the information, 10,000 combination on the same time. The issue here is because when you save, it will save all the edited combination, and if there are some error, the merchant won't understand where the error has been made and on which combination. So here we did a pop-up where the merchant can edit one combination. So here we have an example of size M color white. So all the information will be on the pop-up. So the merchant can, if you can see on the bottom, sorry, the pop-up is in French, English, but you can go on next and previous. So you can navigate on the combination. And if you use the feature of the filtering, you will only be able to navigate on the selected attribute you want to use. So examples, if you only looking to edit all the quantity and navigate on the combination of all the combination, for example, for size M, you can select the size M and open one pop-up and go through every pop-up, every combination for the pop-up to navigate. So for example, if I did 4 combination, we'll see on the left side that you can see all the edited combination. So the merchant will have a better understanding of which combination have been edited, and he will be able to come back, clicking on the item on the left to come back and see what have been done. So he can keep a track of which combination he has edited. So we hope it is going to bring a better user experience, and it will definitely improve the performance on this page. Because if you edit a lot of combinations, the current page, it can have a rollback with error exchange between PrestaShop and your server. Here we try to avoid all these kind of issues. One of the new feature as well we add is a bulk action on the image management, on the removing an image. So now you can select different images and delete them. So basically here is that if people duplicate products or upload a lot of images, it will be really easy for them to manage them and to delete the wrong images that have been uploaded easily. So it's a simple feature that hope is going to bring a lot of value for the merchants. One also requested features is to be able to replace one image. A lot of time products have new images. For example, every season a t-shirt can change. So here is a simple feature that can allow you to change an image. So you don't have to delete the product, upload it again, and assign the image in the right combination or in the right order. So here is going to be, is going only to change the image and keep the correct setting of the previous image. And now I think it's Jonathan, if you want to talk about the improvement that has been done on module integration.
Yes, thanks, Matthias. We need to display as well.
We can see your screen now.
Yeah, it's okay. Okay, great. So Matthias explained to you the functional new features that we have in the product page. The idea here is to have a quick look on how module can now integrate with the new page, because there are a lot of technical new features as well. Basically, the idea is that one of the the thing you wanted to improve the most was how you could integrate yourself inside the product form. So here you have an example on the previous page. Many modules relied on this extra module tab. So when you wanted to add some features, they were always in the extra tab and not inside the form at the place you would like to have them. For example, maybe you would like your new field to be in the pricing tab or in the shipping tab. So basically, we have a few display hooks that are displayed inside the page, but they are limited and they don't give you full access and full control on how the form is handled. So the idea was to use the power of the Symfony forms to our advantage for this, and to allow the module to add like in-form integration, meaning you can now add your feeds wherever you want at any place in the page. So basically here, if I want to add a custom field just under the description, it's possible, or even if I wanted to add another shortcut in the right column, which is in the first tab, it's also possible. Anything is customizable now because you can modify the form builder itself, and you can tell it where you want to add your new fields. So how does it work exactly? You have just register to a hook, which is product form builder modifier. This is a generic hook, which is used for every form builder we use in the back office. And usually the first part is the dynamic one. So you would have an order form builder modifier, attachment form builder modifier, and so on for every entity. But for now, the one that we're interested in is the one for product. So when you get this hook, you will have access to the Symfony form builder in this parameter, which allow you to then get inside the form. So here, the example I'm showing is if I want to add a new field in the shortcuts column. So we'll need to follow the structure of the form, of course. So first you get the shortcuts, which is a subform inside the product form, and then the retail price, which is another subform which englobes all the prices inputs. And then you can add your new inputs. So with the basic form builder in Symfony, you can only add them at the end of the list, which is not really it's something, but sometimes you want to put it right into the middle. So inside this example module, which you can find on GitHub, we implemented a little class that allows you to easily modify a form builder. So you can have some add after and add before methods that will help you customize your form more easily. For now, it's only accessible in this example module, which is not even published yet. But we will probably include this in the core as a tool. I don't know at which version, if it could be in 7.18, probably too late, but at worst it should be in the next version, or maybe we would even improve the form builder itself so that you can call form builder / add after and add before without even requiring to use a class tool. But anyway, at the very least, this class will be provided to you in the example module and via link inside the documentation. So once you added your field inside the form, the question is how are you going to use it, save it inside your database. And for now, all the product page relies on CQRS. So one of the main new feature we have in this page is that the product page now only relies on CQRS commands. We have divided it into many sub-commands because the product is a very complex entity. You can handle some attachments, specific prices, categories, and so on. So we needed to have comments to be able to modify each of the subparts of the product. So it was quite a lot. We have now over 70 comments or queries just for this page and counting, because some parts have not been finished completely yet. But it gives you a hint of the complexity of this page. The advantage, the 70 number can be a bit scary, but actually the advantage of it is that when you need to modify only a part of your product, you can use only this specific command without caring about the rest of the page and of the product. And most of all, one of the features we would like to add, which is not in 1.7.8 yet, but which should be in the next version, is to perform a partial update. So the idea is to only save what you need inside the product. Since the form is quite big, when you just modify, for example, one product, you don't need to override all the database. You just need to update this one field that you modified. So since we have very independent comments, it allows us to only trigger the one we need, and this will so help us perform this partial update, which will improve the performance of the page quite a lot, we hope at least. More to see in the next version, I guess. So how do you set up your CQRS handler? It's quite straightforward. It's only one object, which is the command itself, which will contain all the information needed to do the action, and one service, which is responsible to catch it and perform the modification. If you need extra info about the CQRS, because the purpose is not to detail everything, you can find some in our dev docs. So CQRS is quite familiar with people who have been watching the latest migration, but what we introduced inside this page is the principle of commands builder. Because since we add a lot of commands, we needed something to easily create each command based on the form data. So basically, we have some builders which are responsible to look at the form data when it is sent to your controller, and it will return the appropriate commands. And everything is handled using the tag system of Symfony, which allows us to very easily add some new builders inside the workflow. So basically, when you create a builder, this class is responsible for creating the commands that you are gonna need. If you add this tag here, then it will be automatically handled by the new workflow. So it's basically like a loop which looks for all the command builders that I identify by this tag, and it looks through them, it gives them the form data, and each one can then return the list of commands that needs to be done, so that we can perform the modification on our product. And it's this in this example, for example, for lots of examples, but you can see here a small builder. So basically, it only look for in the row in the form data the basic demo module custom fields, and if it's present, then it can create this command, which will be then dispatched to the command bus and interpreted by the handler that I just showed you a bit earlier. So with 2 to 3 service definition, you can add your own CQRS command, and it will integrate smoothly inside the new product page. So the idea was to help the developers a little, because not everybody is a fan of CQRS command for now and don't always know how to integrate them. And since the page was quite complicated, we needed some extra tools to help us add some view. Even for us, it was quite a nice feature to have in the product page during the development. So let's share some screen, because for now you have seen some GIFs and some screenshots, but nothing's worth some real life experience. So let me show you a little bit the page. Where is it? Okay. Do you see my screen? Even the shop? Yes, it's all right.
Yes.
Yes, we
So
can
just
see.
okay, great. Just a quick reminder: the new page is always hidden behind the feature flag, as Matthias explained to you. If you're looking for it, you will find it in advanced parameter and experimental features. So here I already enabled it. So what it actually does when you're on the former product page, so this is the old one. So you will see that you get access here to a small button which allows you to go to the feature phase. So just clicking on it will refresh the page and redirect you to the experimental page. You will notice that you have a big warning here so that you don't mess the old page and the new ones. So we warned you, you can't possibly make a mistake. So of course you can, but at least we try to limit the risk. Anyway, so this is the new one, and I installed an example module that I talked to you about. It's not finished yet, but you can find here the field that I explained to you. So we can try to save it, and hopefully, if I don't have a demo effect, it should work. I just tested it like 15 minutes ago. Oh yeah! So it's a small step for you, but it's a huge work for us. So that's the idea. As you see, you also have this extra field here. This one is not plugged, so I can't edit it, but it was just to show you the idea that any part of the product in any tab, you can now add the field where you will need it, which should be an improvement for the UX experience of your modules, I hope. You will also find the module tab here, which has not been implemented yet. A few features that are not yet ready in this experimental page, but everything will be over for the next version. And you can see here just a little teasing. Hide forms info. For now, it doesn't work, but the idea I would like to add in this example module a way to easily get the path to each field inside this page, because when you see this page, you don't necessarily know where it is in the form itself. So the idea would be to have some highlighted info to tell you it's in product, get shortcuts, get stocks, and so on, so that you can easily add your own inputs. So of course, everything will be in the documentation, but if we can have some live help inside this module, I think it could also help you. So that's it for the quick demo. If you want to test it more, I invite you to test the beta, which should be released next week. And let's go back to our presentation. So, cool, because I want my nice transitions. So we intend to provide some extra content to help model developers for this page. So of course, lots of documentation. Oh no, it clicked. You will find a complete list of the CQRS commands that are available, not only for product, but also for every domain that we already migrated. So as you can see, it's quite a long list. It's not available yet because the PR is not merged already, but you will see that some domains are a bit more complex than others. The attachment has like 10 comments, and if I go to the product domain, you get a little bit more. But at least it will give you every command available, what it's supposed to do, and which attributes you need to use them. So this should also help you using the new migrated pages. We will, of course, provide, as I explained, a zoning to understand the new form, the new structure of the form. Like this part is in this form type, this part is in this form type, so that you can easily interact with it. Again with the click. also a mapping between each product form and which CQRS command it maps to. For example, basic type is mapped to update basic information and so on. You can already find an explanation of how we built the new CQRS handlers. We try to introduce a new architecture like repositories, builders, and so on. There's already some part of it which is documented. This one is available, so I invite you to go there. You will find like how we built the repositories, the validators, and the complex modification of the domain. So this should help you understand how the new page works if you need to modify its behavior, or maybe it will help you to build your own modules. And finally, we will provide, as I explained, an example module for the product page, but also many others. I believe like 3 or 4 modules have already been published last week, which should help you. And if you need all these example modules, they are all in the same Git repository, which you can find at this address on GitHub. So I think that's it, and that's my cue for Matthias.
Yeah, so as I said, the page is not fully done. So the page will replace the current page on the next version. There are some parts that are missing, like the pack, the management of pack, the multi-store, the hook management that's currently in development by Joe, and more technical improvements. Save only the edited data, which will help a lot on the performance issues and many other new small improvements. So like I said, don't hesitate to try it out. Give us as much as feedback as you can. We'll be happy to hear them out and to see what we can do for the final version. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, guys. I think we have one question on the YouTube channel. Well, the first one was about test metrics, I guess, and has already been answered. But we have a second one. When will these CQRS commands be usable? Starting with 178. Yeah, there is already an answer, but maybe you want to add something. Joe, maybe.
Sorry, I cut my mic. Yeah, every CQRS commands are already accessible, even if they are only used in the new product page. But if you want to use them from your module, they are, of course, present. We can't block them. We didn't think about blocking them, actually. Maybe we should have, but I don't think so. They have all been fully behead tested, so you can rely on them. And if you want to use them directly in your modules or in your controllers or anything, feel free to use them.
All right. Then thanks, guys. I think we can go with the next demo, which is Mathieu Roland, how to declare your module's multi-store compatibility. So Mathieu, when you want, you can take over the presentation. I think okay. You should stop sharing. Yeah. Joe, you can stop sharing your screen, I guess.
I will just override the screen.
Okay.
Goodbye. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about how to declare the multi-store compatibility of your module. What we wanted to do was to make it possible for PrestaShop users to see right from the back office if their module is are compatible with multi-store or not in the description of the module. So here, for example, I am on the command product module. I see the description. I have no information about multi-store compatibility. The problem we faced was that the marketplace didn't give us this information, at least not the API. So what we did was to make it possible to declare the multi-store compatibility inside the module, so we can display it at this place. And I'm going to show you how we can do this. So you just have in the main file of your module, you just have to put an attribute which is called multistore compatibility and give him the value of your multistore compatibility. We've added some constants in the module class describing each multistore compatibility level. So you have a compatibility no, which is when your module is not compatible at all with multistore. Not concerned is when the concept of multistore is not relevant to what your module is doing. We have partial, when your module is partially compatible with multistore, and yes, when your module is fully compatible with multistore. And there's another compatibility level, which is unknown, which is the default state. Unknown means that we don't know if a module is compatible or not. So if a module doesn't declare its compatibility, he will fall back to this value. So I'm going to do this in the product comment module. Here I put the multistore compatibility no value. I save the file. I reload the description. And as you can see, I have a new multistore compatibility description. This module is not compatible with the multistore feature. That's because we put the multistore compatibility no constant. Let's say my module is fully compatible with multistore. I put this constant. Multistore compatibility, yes. And if I reload my module description, I have a new description. This module is compatible with the multistore feature. It can be either configured differently from one store to another, etc., etc. I'm not going to read everything. If you put the unknown value, which is the default one, so if you don't put any value, you have the same thing, the multistore compatibility description basically disappears. You have nothing, the information is not given. So that's it. It's not it's not a fancy feature, but we believe it's quite useful because this information was missing from the back office. And that's it for me today. Any question?
Thanks, Matthew. I don't see any question so far.
I have one.
Okay, let's go.
Yeah, just to be sure. So since it's configured inside the module and not in the API, you only get this information for module that are already installed?
Yes, in the module management page.
Okay.
That's ideally, one day it would be nice to have this information in the marketplace API.
Yeah.
But that's not the case for now. We don't really have we can't change that. We can't change that ourselves.
Yeah, first step.
And
All
that's
right.
it.
Thanks, Mathieu. If we have new questions, we'll keep them for the Q&A session.
Is my screen still shared right now?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
So we're gonna go for the third demo, Linklist module version 5, introducing multi-store compatibility. So Christian, when you want, you can take over.
Yes, I'm ready. I think we can start. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfectly.
I will share my screen. Let's hope to not see any demo effect. You can see my store right now. It's PrestaShop 7.8 test. We can see new version of Link widget module right now. As you can see, I have a couple of stores. One is for B2B sales, one is for B2C sales. It's simple tree, very common in PrestaShop ecosystem. So let's get into it. Previous version wasn't compatible with multistore at all. So the new V5 version is compatible in a way where you can create different blocks for different stores. As you can see in all shops context, you can see blocks which you have added into the module, and shop which are connected to these blocks. So when you edit one block, you can see that there's a new field, shop association, which is a very known field from other pages like categories or products, categories or some other modules. Here we can see that this block called products is connected to all our stores, which is B2C and B2B. We can see that on our front end. Let's refresh one more time. We can see that we have 3 links on B2C. We have 3 links on B2B. Let's try to make it possible to display products link only on B2C store. As you can see, I can uncheck B2B, save the changes. Let's go to B2C. We still have it. Let's go to B2B. We don't have it. So it's a first feature which shows you that you can connect a specific block to connect to specific store. Let's go to the next feature, which is when you add a new block. You can, of course, add it from all shop context, and this will mark all your available stores in this field. When you change context to, for example, B2C, only B2C will be checked. So we can create a dedicated block only for B2C. Let's say it's B2C link block, and let's put it in display footer. Let's say we want to show to this these 2 links in this block. Okay, so as my store is by default in Polish, we have a warning saying that we need to fill a required field, which is block name. We need to fill name of the block in Polish language because we can save a form without providing a valid data. One thing we changed with this version is possibility to only fill default language, which you can see right now. So if we have a B2C link block in Polish, which is a default language for this entire store, we can save it right now. And we don't have any warning. In previous version, when you left out some form fields which wasn't correctly filled in all languages, we would see here a warning saying that not all fields are filled properly. So it's a little feature which should help you with managing your blocks. We can try to see if our block is available in B2C. It is available, as you can see here. One more feature I'd like to show you is that here we can, of course, see all blocks which are connected to display footer. One nice feature we added is that if you want to remove, for example, products block or maybe our company block, because we have our company block in B2C and B2B. If we remove our company block from B2C, from this page, let's delete it. It will be deleted only in of course, one shop. So everything should work as expected. You can manage your links in all context of the stores. You can create dedicated blogs for a single store. You can share your blogs between stores. And basically, what we wanted to do is to give you all a possibility, a feature to manage your blogs for every store separately. So yeah, that was a really quick demo. Of course, when we are talking about code, I recommend you to look at GitHub at PS Linklist repository, where you can find multi-store compatibility pull request, where you can find a few examples of how to work with multi-store in PrestaShop. Of course, this is something what is related strictly to modules. So core stuff is something a bit different when it comes to multi-store, and I think you can find a lot of useful information in our dev documentation. So yeah, that will be it.
All right, thanks, Christian. I think we have a question from Ibrahima. So I'm going to read it. Allowing to leave blank required fields for some languages doesn't introduce issue when the user changes his language in the front office?
No, to avoid any frustration from users, we make sure that if you fill only required language, it will automatically populate to all other languages.
All right. Thank you. We can. I don't think there is other questions, so we can go for the last demo, which is Pablo, and we talk about the menu translation. So when you want, Pablo.
Thanks. I'm going to share my screen now. All right. Should be looking at my screen right now.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the improvements that we merged into 1.7.8 for the menu translation. So have you ever heard about tabs? Tabs are actually all the items that you see on the menu on the left. Each one of those items are called tabs internally in PrestaShop. And they're stored in the database on a table that is called ps_tab, which includes the ID of the tab, the name of the class or the controller that's behind that menu item, and a number of other fields that are not interesting for this demo. And since these menu items can be displayed on any language, we have another table that is called ps_tab_long, where there's the title of that menu item in every language that is installed for that shop. For example, here below you can see a list on for each tab. You have the class name here and the title, which are here in French. So there are a lot of translatable tables in PrestaShop that you can find just by running this simple query, show tables like long. So you have for advice, this one is for gamification, attachment groups, attributes, etc., etc. There are 45 rows like this on a clean install from PrestaShop. And they all work pretty much the same. You have an entity, and then you have at least some of the fields from that entity which are translated into some language, and they're stored in this _long table. And what happens when you install a new language? The menu actually works the same way as the other entities. They all work the same. And it's quite magical, actually, because you just install a new language and everything is translated, and you centrally don't have a clue of what's happening behind the scene. So the short answer for how does this work is magic. It's just magical, just works. You don't have to care about how it works. But One thing that we know about software development is that if something seems to be magical, it's probably not going to work well all of the time. And for that, I'm going to go a little bit deeper into how this works. The long answer for how this works is DataLangs. It's a concept that very few people have heard of in the PrestaShop world, but it's important to understand to find out why I'm talking about this. So as I said before, we have a lot of tables that finish by _lang, which contain the translatable fields for any entity, in this case, the titles that you see on the menu. And what PrestaShop does is when new language is installed, he's going to go through every table that finishes with long, and he's going to look into PrestaShop classes within the classes lang directory, and it's going to try and find the classes that match the table's name. For example, we have attribute group long and we have an attribute group long class. And this DataLang class is going to tell PrestaShop that, okay, you can automatically try to translate the content in this table, and the class will tell which fields need to be translated. And this all works kind of automatically. So PrestaShop in this case will be copy everything that it's in that table using the default language. For example, if your shop the default language is in English, that's going to copy all the values in English to the new language. So for example, you install French, and your menu, I don't know, it's for example orders, is going to copy over orders in French, and then it's going to take that value and perform a very interesting process that we dubbed untranslation and retranslation. And what is this untranslation and retranslation? Okay, well, let me try to explain this concept. Translation, the basic translation, works with dictionaries. We have, for example, the French dictionary, and given a keyword, it will try to find a message in that the corresponding message in that language. For example, orders in French is written command. So the keyword is order, and the message is command. Well, untranslation will attempt to perform the opposite operation. Given a message, find the keyword. So given a word in French, try to find out the translation in English by performing reverse translation. So given command in French, it must mean order in English. And when you perform retranslation, you take the result of performing this untranslation and then translate it again, but in a different language, for example, Spanish or other. The thing is, when you do this in French, sometimes you get this. French for order is 3. What? Let's go over that again. So French for order, as in place an order, means command. When you take command in French, we can assume that the opposite is true, so order in English. But then, when you translate it again, as in order of data in a table, it's a different meaning for that word, and in French it's called tri. And the conclusion is that actually this process of untranslation and retranslation, at first it seems like a clever hack. I mean, if you translate one way, you can translate the other way. It's a dictionary. But it isn't consistent, because there are many times where 2 different words in a language can be translated to a single word in another language, or vice versa. For example, in this example, order, depending on the context, in French you can say tri or command. And so the conclusion is that translation is not a one-to-one relationship, actually. It can be a one-to-many, one-to-one, or the other way around. So it cannot be safely reversed. Sometimes it will work, probably most of the time, but when it doesn't, it leads to very weird bugs when you have things that are translated into something else. Context is key, and this is why we have translation domains. to be able to use the same wording in a different context and translate it appropriately to the correct word in a different language. And so this was our problem with menus. So if this doesn't work, what do we do? Well, the solution is actually pretty simple. Instead of trying to untranslate, to guess what the original wording was so that we can translate it again, we just keep a wording and a wording domain like we do everywhere else in PrestaShop. So the solution that we found was to, in the tab table, just add a wording domain fields, and then each time a new tab is added or a new language is added, instead of trying to guess what the original wording was so that we can translate it into the target language, we can just look at what the wording was in tab and then translate it. Super simple. It's actually that simple. And well, if we can do it for tabs in the core, we can do it for tabs on modules as well. So now, when you declare your tabs in your module, instead of having to translate the tabs yourself, right there, and I put a big asterisk in what I'm saying, because you will have to translate it sometime, but not there. So you put wording and wording domain, and then you can use translation dictionaries to store your translation, and you will be able to use the translation interface, if you do it right, to let people translate it into languages that you don't speak yourself as a module developer. Of course, there are always some limitations for everything. The first one is that the menu items on the back office translation interface, editing them in the back office translation interface only works out of the box for core wordings. So this is something that we added on 1.7.8, that you can go to the back office translation interface and you can go to, I think that it was admin navigation menu domain, and you have all the menu items for the core, and translating them there triggers an update on the table so that when you reload your page, the wordings are updated accordingly. This translation process on the database, it's only triggered automatically for the core. And if modules want to benefit from this, you will have to reinstall your module or add a new language or just trigger it manually, but it won't work automatically. And of course, if you want to make your wording show up in the translation interface for your module, you'll have to declare them somewhere so that the translation interface can pick them up. This is actually described in the documentation. And it is, you simply have to put a piece of code that calls the trans method that actually doesn't exist. It's just for the translation interface with the wordings and the wording domain that you're using. And there are some, of course, feature improvements in store. For example, if we are using wording domain, there's actually no reason at all to store the translated information in the database. We're currently keeping it for backwards compatibility, so that everything continues to work as expected. But in the future, we're going to just remove this table because it's useless. Make wordings declared in many tabs show up in the translation interface as well, so that you don't have to use the things that I just showed up. So you don't have to write this down anywhere. You will just have this thing, and the translation interface will automatically pick it up. And any other ideas that you came up with, we're open for that. And to learn more, you can see the pull request that introduced this, or read the docs. That's all for me, and I'm sorry, maybe, it's 14:59, so 1 minute early.
Thanks, Pablo. I don't see any questions so far either, both on YouTube and on Jitsi. So I guess we can start the Q&A session. But if there is no question, actually I got one question, but I think it has been already answered. It was about the new translation system, and the question was, when will the new translation system be available? And I think it's about the last, or the session before the last, when we showed the new translation system. So maybe it's related to that. So maybe Ibrahima should answer it, as he worked on it. I don't know.
The new translation system will be available when 1.7.8 will be released. So I hope in next week or later.
All right. So I guess this is it until I see any question now. No new questions. So thank you, everyone. That will be the end of this session 5. So as I said in introduction, you will be able to find this session on YouTube and a short summary on the build blog of PrestaShop. Yeah, and we'll see you next month for session 6. Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much. I'm shutting down the stream.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Now.